Hey, what's going on everybody? This is East Tactics back with another video. It's been actually a little while since I put something down, but it's because I was waiting to save up for a special part, and I was able to pick up none other than the M2C racing chassis. I am super stoked about this product. It is airplane grade aluminum. It is 4 millimeters thick, and basically, from what I understand, it is the ultimate upgrade for the Arrma Kraton. Basically, with the rigidity and the strength of this chassis, you no longer need the tower-to-tower brace at all. So I will be removing that. And another thing I picked up from Just Bash It RC is this piece right here, which is gonna go down inside here. I'm no longer gonna need this extended fork for the tower-to-tower brace, and this will end up being the mount down there. Another thing I picked up from M2C is the rear shock tower bracers. These are going to actually replace these two plastic spacers are going to be replaced by these, and it'll arc up from here and then screw into the back side of the shock tower and add a ton of strength to the system here. I already have a hot racing diff house in the back, so I've strengthened up my diff house and made it a lot stronger. I have not put a aluminum diff house in the front, nor have I upgraded the shock tower, or the shock tower in the front. In my opinion, the shock tower in the front doesn't really need to be upgraded because it's smaller. It doesn't have as much leverage points sticking out to where, I mean, I haven't bent mine. However, I have upgraded my rear shock tower to a Just Bash It RC aluminum. So those are some must-do upgrades if you really want to send this thing like a rocket. Another thing that you're going to want to get are these aluminum chassis bracers. So let's see, what else have I upgraded in here? Oh, I picked up a aluminum servo mount, and I've also changed the A-arms in the front and the back to RPM. Another upgrade that I've done is I've installed this heatsink and fan because I've increased the size of my spur gear down here to a 20-tooth pinion gear, which I've got videos pretty much on every little upgrade that I've created so far. So if you guys want to kind of see the details about the installation on all these different things, just check out the history on my YouTube channel. But ultimately today, what I'm going to be doing is installing the M2C chassis. This thing is, like I said, it's a work of art. One of the things that I really like too about it, if you look really close, you can see that there's some metal ball bearings inlaid into the chassis for the droop screws. Normally those droop screws, if you've not upgraded the droop screws to a more wider based footprint, then they dig a hole into your chassis in those two positions. And also you'll notice that Mitch at M2C Racing has had the foresight to put two different locations in the back of the vehicle, because depending on whether or not you're using RPM A-arms or the stock A-arms, it actually is a different position for the actual droop screws. So he put a ball bearing in both positions depending on which style A-arms you're using, which to me just goes to show the amazing foresight that he's put into these products. And if you guys don't have an M2C chassis, then I highly recommend upgrading your droop screws to a higher quality droop screw that actually doesn't have the sharpness. If you look at the droop screw there, it's actually got a round head on it, so it's not going to damage my chassis. But now that those metal ball bearings are in there, it's even more protection, which is awesome. So anyway, the biggest reason why I've kind of been away for a little while, guys, is because I wanted to save up for this. You'll notice if you look at my RC car, you can see the bend in my chassis. So I've basically upgraded the heck out of the rear end. I've got the shock tower, I've got an aluminum diff house, I've got the bracers, and the last thing that was really on my list was to upgrade this chassis. And you can see that I didn't damage any of my components back here, but I did end up bending my chassis. Even though I do have a video that's talking about using this banding system for the tower-to-tower setup, which again saves your diff house and it saves your tower from being, you know, bent or tweaked, but it didn't necessarily save my chassis. So on my last bash session, I landed hard and it ended up bending this. So this will be a thing of the past once I've installed this new bad boy. Like I said, this is in my opinion probably the #1 upgrade that you can do to these Arrma Kratons. And once you put this chassis on, it basically strengthens almost everything in the vehicle and makes it to where I'm not 100% sure if you've watched any of like RC Dude 81's videos or Rich Duper Bash, but they literally drive their RC cars full speed off of ramps and launch them like 120 plus feet, 30 feet in the air, and these things take it like a champ. But if you want to send it like that, you're going to need to do some of these bigger upgrades, and M2C chassis is crucial if you want to get there. So I'm going to go ahead and set this video up on a stand, and we'll do like a time lapse of the installation of this. But one of the things that I did want to share with you, one of the tactics, if you will, for this project, so a really clever idea so that you can keep track of everything is to take a cardboard box and basically trace the chassis, poke holes in it where all of the screws belong, and then you can just zip every one of the screws out and stick them into the cardboard as a placeholder so that you don't lose position for where each one of these individual screws go, and it'll just make your life way easier. So we're gonna do that, and we're gonna go ahead and install this chassis, and then we'll see how tanked out the RC car is after this. So thanks guys. You notice how they got the putty inside of them?
Yeah, is that to balance it?
I balanced them, yeah.
Wow, how did you do that?
Did
you spin them, or did you just put them where they kind of hinge on something?
So I have a video I created where you actually take the
you
take the T-bone out of here so that there's no resistance, and it's just this setup right here turns into like a pretty friction free, like, and then you just put the tire back onto it, and then you just like spin it, and it like settles where it settles. Put putty, and then you keep doing that until where it stops settling there and it just spins, and then it comes to a stop.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
So now that is,
you're not gonna put this back on the next one? Is it just because it's so strong?
yeah, it's because this is so strong that, I mean,
yeah, the thing is,
a bunch of dirt came out of that.
what are all those little rubber bands for?
So basically, I created a video about this, about the tower-to-tower brace, in that if you are going to use it and you don't have the M2C chassis, it's recommended not to have it bolted on both ends, because what happens is, yes, it's giving more strength to the chassis to prevent the chassis from bending, but what's happening is it's so rigid that it transfers all the power into your diff house and your back tower, and you end up
finding
bending.
spots.
You end up bending this, or you end up breaking your diff house ears, like I did.
Gotcha.
Because this thing, while it was an admirable like attempt to like create more strength for the car, because the chassis is not strong enough, it ended up transferring that energy to other parts of the car that are more expensive that you don't want to break. I think it achieved its goal because I didn't bend my shock tower, and I didn't bend my I didn't break my chassis. However, I didn't break my diff house. However, it wasn't giving that strength to the chassis anymore, and hence now it's bent. Gotcha. So it's like, in my opinion, do away with this, get a nice chassis. You know what I mean? That's So now that we've got that off, I can take this screw out. So you'll notice that it's got more meat on the bottom, a lot more. Good way to see the bend. Well guys, I have completed project chassis replacement. No longer am I going to be needing this tower-to-tower brace. I will say that utilizing this cardboard to keep track of the screws was really convenient. It worked out wonderfully. So here's the new chassis, M2C. You may notice that on the front end, I actually used old shims that were inside my diffs because they're kind of malleable as washers. So here's an example of an old shim. And what I've done is I've kind of put those in first to add a little bit more strength, only because I ran into something really hard not too long ago, and basically the impact popped the plastic over these screws, and so now this is just kind of a little tactic I've done to make this a little bit stronger. You might be able to do a better job, make it look a little prettier, but nonetheless it works good. So everything's good to go. The other thing that I installed today was this rear shock tower brace. What it required me to do was to drill holes through the shock tower. I also had to do a little bit of dremeling on this spoiler support in order for these rods to kind of fit easily. I took my Dremel and just shaved off a little bit of plastic on these two pieces. I also installed this Just Bash It RC support in here, so this whole back end is just tanked out. I've got an aluminum tower, I've got this special brace, I've got this component in here, I've also got the chassis brace as well as a aluminum diff house. So I feel like my back end can handle basically an atom bomb. So anyway, that's a look at what I've installed tonight, and I'm really excited about this chassis. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave comments in the comment section, and if this video was useful for you, smash that like button and subscribe to my channel for more tips and tricks. I will probably get a bash video up in not too long, and any other things that I do to this to make it more tough, I will let you know. Have a good night, guys.